Hello friends, welcome to the lecture 4 of our elective B2B marketing. So, in the last lecture we had discussed about the differences in the B2C and the B2B market, right. So, in which we had just covered about the differences through the market structure and the buyer behavior, how they are different in the B2C market and how they are different in the B2B market. And I had also explained a concept called transaction cost and its effect on the business marketers, and why business marketers are attempt to reduce the transaction cost, so that the entire cost of the product can come down and they can become more competitive in nature and buyers can easily buy the product. Okay. So, we will continue from there. Now, today we will be discussing some more differences. For example, how the decision making differs in the consumer marketing and the B2B marketing. If you look at the consumer market, there is no as such quality test, very little quality test is done, right. For example, if it is done also, it is done at the manufacturer's level and not at the consumer's level. Okay. But in case of a B2B market, the quality check is a very important parameter. In fact, the B2B market is all about the differentiating factor or the differentiator is about quality and service. So, how good a service a company can offer or how good quality can it offer, that separates the one good company from the other. So, consumer marketing and when you compare the B2B market and the consumer market, the quality becomes a very important issue in this B2B market. And as I had said also earlier, the buyers are ignorant because it is a standardized product, they do not worry about it and they trust a brand. For example, it is a brand like HUL or Procter and Gamble or Marico or anybody. So, they trust it and they buy it, alright. But here, since the B2B market, we had said that most of the products are customized in nature and they are done according to the specifications of the buyer. So, the buyer is well informed and the seller is also well informed. In fact, it is very interesting to know that both buyer and seller, they work in a partnership mode in a B2B market, and it plays a very vital role in the new product development process. The decisions are basically amateurish, right, and a single person takes a decision largely. For example, in your house, for example, either the mother of the house or the the lady of the house, she takes a decision. And but in the B2B marketing, it is most like a joint decision making, as a professional decision making attempt. There is hardly any negotiation in a B2C products, but there is a lot of negotiation in the B2B product. Why? The simple reason is, again, when I am saying the product is customized and the cost of a product is dependent on several other products. For example, if you talk about a computer somebody can sell at, let us say, 50,000 rupees, somebody can sell at 60,000 rupees, somebody can sell at maybe some other price. Why? Because they can show certain differences in the parts that they are using during the assembly. So, as a result of it, they can change the price of the product. Okay. So, because of this reason, it leaves a scope for negotiation in this B2B market. But the consumer market, because it is a standardized product, there is hardly any scope for bargain or negotiation. The number of influencers who can influence the buying decision is relatively less, but here there is a large number of influencers. I will share an article with you of Jagdish Seth, where he talks about buying behavior of the in the industrial markets or the B2B market. Now, the number of influencers in the business market is very high. Why? Because, for example, as I said, it is a huge volume purchase and it is a very complex item, and it has a huge involvement. So, that is why you will see there might be a person who is using the product from the shop floor, and there might be a person who is a decision maker or the, so the quality control, the finance, the production, the marketing person, everybody will try to influence the decision process according to their needs and wants. Okay. So, that is one difficulty in this market. It is a challenge in the business to business marketing. In terms of products, if you look at the B2B and B2C, the unit of sale is very small. So, somebody goes to a shop, maybe buys a 1 unit of a product, but here in the B2B the volume of purchase is very high. So, large quantity, obviously it depends on the kind of frequency or the number of orders you want to make, but still comparatively it is a large order, right, it is a bulk order, and the volume discounts are also offered to the buyers. Okay. Service is a very less important component in the B2C market, but here it becomes a strategic key. That means it becomes a it is an important differentiator, right? Means you can possibly create a brand, right, of yourself by using service as the differentiator, right. So, for example, when we talk about companies like Siemens, when we talk about companies like Havels, it is not about only the product, because the product might be same. So, you can't make much of a difference in the product, but what you can make is a differences in the service. For example, yesterday I was reading about Castrol. Now, Castrol is a lubricant manufacturer, and it is going through certain challenges, obviously, because the markets are changing and electrical vehicles are coming into place. So, their usual products are maybe having a little difficulty. But what Castrol has interestingly done, I was watching the video of its MD. So, he said that they are now getting into service kind of centers. They are built around 170 service centers, which they will use as key differentiator, right. They will provide service, they will provide education to the mechanics, and they have created competitions like super mechanic contest. So, all these things they are using just to ensure that their product is always promoted by these people who can have a direct influence, like the mechanic or the garage owner or anybody, right. So, standardized and customized products I have already said, and here there is no cost of maintenance, but here the maintenance cost again becomes another important. So, that is why service becomes a important key factor in the B2B market. Now, when it comes to pricing, I have already said that it is a single transaction is a small unit, right, in a consumer marketing. But when you talk about one single transaction in the B2B marketing, it is a huge transaction, right. So, maybe you may give a order worth lakhs. Let us say IIT wants to buy certain equipments for its laboratories, right, in certain departments. So, they will give a bulk order, and they would maybe expect a price discount also, right. So, every transaction is a huge value transaction. So, it is significant in nature. It is a list price selling, and here there is a competitive bidding. Now, you must be knowing what is competitive bidding. So, where you bid against one seller, bid against the other, right. So, the bidder at the lowest cost is generally preferred. Otherwise, if you look at the consumer market, there is nothing such, because you can directly go to the shop and buy something. So, this is a little complex market, and here it can be in closed bidding, it could be an open bidding, where you can also try to influence through your quality and all. No negotiation, as I have already said, and here negotiation on price is a must. As why? What is the reason? Because nobody knows what the right price is of a B2B product. Let us say if I am buying a new CNC or a lathe machine, I do not know what is its price, because the price depends on 2-3 factors. One, what are the competitors selling at what price, and the other is the parts that I am buying, what is the price of those parts, right. For example, I was again referring back to that video from Castrol. So, where the MD was saying that they have been hit hard because of the increase in the price of raw materials, right, for their lubricants manufacturing and all. So, this is something, the part which is hidden in nature, right. So, we do not know exactly what are the different parts involved in the complex machinery, and how much of cost has changed in these parts. So, because the price of the change in components will also influence the price of the final assembly or the final product. So, all these things are very important. Simple pricing policies, and here is a very complex pricing policy, right. So, your pricing policy may involve a lot of warranties, services, maintenance, volume discounts, quantity, that is volume and quantity same, maybe certain time based discounts, all these issues, right. There is no condition of leasing. Now, I hope you understand leasing. Leasing is a concept where a company can, without investing its capital or purchasing a item, they can take it on rent. So, leasing is generally done in these markets, in the B2B market, because these are very capital intensive items. So, a machine may be worth, let us say 4-5 crores even, right, and then you do not know how much of use you can make out of it, and let us say you are if you invest it in that, and tomorrow there is a change in technology or something happens, then the entire machinery may be uh, not so useful to you. So, that is why leasing is a very important part of the B2B market. Then coming to the channel, right. So, sales is generally done through retail outlets here, and here it is done through the industrial middlemen. So, the industrial middlemen are people who are educated and they understand the quality of the product, its different specifications, its its use, application, everything. So, these middlemen are the people who also sometimes take the ownership of the product, and then they add certain value to the product and they act as resellers to that. Okay. Possibly a very long channel, you must have seen that in a consumer market, for example, the manufacturers at one end and the end consumers at the other hand, and there are 3 to 4 people involved in between, the retailer, wholesaler, distributor, all these people. But in the B2B market, there is a very short channel. The simple reason, what is the simple reason behind it? If you see, you can't have a long channel in the B2B market, because here there has to be a close relationship between the buyer and the seller. If the seller is not close to the buyer and they do not have a direct interaction, they might not even understand what is the requirement of the buyer. So, that is why if you go through a channel, then automatically there will be information which will be missed. So, that is why industrial channels or B2B channels are very short in nature. They are generally directly from the manufacturer to the buyer, or maybe maximum one level, right. So, sales outlets are less in the B2B market in comparison to the B2C market, and obviously the stock holding is also pretty less, because business owners, business houses, they are very tech savvy, they understand technology, they understand the importance of competition, the role of technology, the change in technology that can have an impact on them, and all these things. So, they would never ever try to hold too much of material, because they know the technology might change and it can become obsolete, or there a new trend might come in the market, people might not want your product. So, it depends how much of stock holding you want to keep, but that is, I will not say always it is less. This less is also a relative word. It depends on what kind of a material you are holding. So, for example, there are some materials which are which we need in less amounts, but they are very capital intensive. Some materials are there which are very generally standardized, like nuts, bolts and all, which we may keep as a C class item, maybe we require in bulk. So, it depends on the class of item also. Okay. Now, promotion, first of all, promotion is one word which is very less spoken or used in the B2B market. It is only and only in the consumer market that you see a lot of promotion, right. So, that is why when you, because of this promotion only, one reason is that you understand, everybody understand the consumer market much better than the business market, because business marketers do not believe in promotion, right. They do not believe in all those fancy and impulsive buying approaches, because they know their product is a more complex and high involvement product. So, whoever will buy will like to know more about the product and they will be more involved in the product, right. So, that is mass advertising, consumer market, and here it is personal selling. So, when there is personal selling, obviously there is no requirement of advertisement, very little if it is required. Fanciful imaginative themes, and here rational and factual. So, it is exactly what people look into, they would like to tell that, right. So, what exactly do they require, they will try to prepare the product accordingly, the market's need. Salesperson's role here is persuasive nature, right. So, in the consumer market, the salesperson tries to persuade, right, but here it is not about persuasion, it is about problem solving. So, the salespeople is a person, is generally a mechanic or an engineer or somebody who has a technical knowledge, and he can help you in the problem solving. For example, the salespeople in a company like IBM or Infosys or Wipro are people who will come to your company and they will try to understand your problem and then try to solve a problem, right. But that is a different, in the consumer market, it is just a persuasive role, right. So, that is why advertisement also in connection with it plays a very vital role. And the purchase decision is simple and short in the consumer market, but here is a very complex and lengthy process. So, even if you look at any purchase in the B2B market, it can span up to years, not even days and months, it can up to span up to years, right. And here there are small and frequent orders. So, people tend to give small and frequent orders, but here there are large and infrequent orders for some products. It could be large, frequency can be decisive, or frequency can be debatable, because it depends on what class of items it is, but generally they are large orders. So, there is no penalty as such, but here there is a penalty generally involved in the B2B products, because if you do anything wrong, right, then you will be penalized for it, and because you have to pay for our losses. That is how this relationship works. Okay. Weak vendor loyalty, and here high vendor loyalty. That means what? The vendors are no more just vendors in the B2B market, they are more like partners. So, they help in the new product development process, right. So, there is a lot of loyalty factor involved. In fact, there are interesting case studies about buyer supplier relationship in the B2B market, where buyers have invested heavily in the sellers, and they have tried to build infrastructure for them, and according to what they would require, their products, what kind of products they require, accordingly they have invested in the vendors infrastructure, and they have ensured that they always make a regular purchase from vendors. So, this vendor loyalty is a very important point, because these are capital and long time horizon products. Okay. So, this relationship can last for long, because it is not a 1 or 2 day affair. Okay. Here you generally use a EOQ model, economic order quantity, which we say which is affected by demand and holding and ordering cost. And here we generally follow a JIT model, just in time model of buying, because we do not want to keep too much of inventory with us. So, whenever we require, we will get the material. So, that kind of an arrangement is generally happens, right. Now, as I was saying, industrial demand is a very important indicator for any country, right. So, industrial growth, industrial demand is a very important indicator. Suppose let us say the construction industry grows, right. Along with the construction industry, what comes is steel, cement, labor, different other materials. So, industrial demand is an indicator of a country's growth, right. So, many a times if you see even in terms of economics, if I explain, there is a concept where even governments try to put in their money, so that investment can grow up or production can grow up, right. So, they believe that more the production, more the consumption, right, automatically economy will become more healthier in nature, right. So, an example, if you see, the demand for industrial products simply means the quantity of the industrial goods which businesses are demanding in all products. So, if you look at this is for the steel, production and consumption of steel, right, crude steel and finished steel. So, from 2016 to 20, you can see there is a constant rise, and only in 2018 there was a slight fall, right, and for the same in finished steel also, right. Now, in export and import also you can see this that there has been a slight fall in comparison to 17, but 18, 19 and 20 if you see, but 20 again there was COVID, and COVID also has affected, which you cannot understand from this graph, but if you extend the graph further, you can understand that COVID also had a major impact, and it was once in a century kind of a event. So, it made a serious dent on our demand for products and all. People did not have the money to purchase, right, and producers were having already inventory, a lot of inventory with them. So, there was no need of making more. So, these kind of issues happened, and raw material costs improved and everything happened. Now, coming from here, we will try to see that when you talk about consumer products, you must have read about levels of a product. So, a product has certain levels, we say. Now, basically we say there are 5 levels of a product. So, is this same logic applicable to the B2B market, or can we understand the B2B market from this product level theory? This product level theory was given by Philip Kotler, where he tried to explain how can a product be understood from different level point of view. What are these levels? Let us see. So, the question here comes is, can B2B products be understood from a product level perspective too? Let us see. So, as Kotler had mentioned, so a product can have a core benefit, it can then have a basic product, it can then be have a expected some product, then it can be a augmented product, and then finally a potential product. So, he says that every product, a small to small product, for example, a let us say a cosmetic or a soap or anything. So, everything can be divided into these 5 levels and can be understood through these 5 levels. And if you understand these 5 levels, then it will be very easy for you to even go to the B2B products in the same way. Now, core benefit is something like we say that is the minimum requirement, right, kind of a thing. And as we go up, we will see that up to the expected product, you hardly can create any differentiation, because all your major competitors or the producers, they generally give the same kind of output, right. But yes, if you look at the last 2 stages, right. So, these 2 stages, here you can make it, you can use it as a differentiator. So, suppose there are 2 players in the market, A and B. Now, A and B can challenge each other by bringing in changes which are augmented in nature or which are potential in nature. So, can this theory which Kotler has proposed, can this also be helpful to understand the B2B market? Let us see. So, the step 1 it says is what is your core product, right, that is what it said. So, core. So, customers buy core products to fulfill a need, right. So, the questions that you need to answer while asking this question is, why do people buy a product, your product or anybody's product? What are their core needs? What benefit do they get from purchasing your product? So, suppose you are a manufacturer of, let us say, certain computers or let us say softwares or something. So, why should a person buy your product? What are his core needs and what benefits will they get by purchasing your product, right? For example, an example I have taken is core need is digital image processing, right. So, I am into digital image processing, and where you must have heard about Adobe Photoshop and all like softwares. So, which is something I want to do, right. So, this is my core need. So, what you can do, you can write down the to make it more for any, if you are a manager or somebody, what you can do is you can write down your points and the benefit they get from the product and the success of the product at meeting these core needs. So, how would you rate the success? So, that is a judgmental kind of a thing. You may take a opinion of the salespeople, the marketing team or some customers who have used the product and give a score from 1 to 10. So, 10 being the higher side and 1 being the on the lower side, and the competitive strength of the features in between in the market that is available. So, how would you place yourself? So, by doing this, it at least gives you a more quantitative knowledge or a number that is better to understand or better to compare against others than just being subjective in nature. Then what are your generic products? Now, this is the one, the image processing we are talking about. Now, what are your generic products? Now, generic products are generally made up of the various qualities and features of your product. So, what features does your product contain that the customers need? What benefit does the customer get from each feature? Now, you have so many features, but let us say many of the features customers might not be using. For example, I have seen, at least in mobile phones for example, there are many features which we do not even use, and I think you would agree to me. What are the opportunities for improving the generic product? How can I improve the generic product, right? So, again we write it like this and we try to make a comparison, right. Now, in this case generic, the need to process digital images could be satisfied by a generic and personal computer using free image processing software or a processing laboratory. So, he says this is the generic thing, right. So, if I have successfully passed through the core and generic, what is next? The next is the expectation. So, what is the expectation that the customer has from us? Now, expectation are what people imagine they will get from the product they buy. So, if you do not give this much money, whatever they expect, then they will be dissatisfied. Rather, you should always be trying to, as a company or a B2B marketer, you should be trying to give more than what the customer can think, right, which is augmented and potential. So, what can be the expectations? What expectations do people have of the product? For example, that it will last forever, that it will never break down, it will give them a status. So, these are some expectations, and please remember these things can change with time. I will explain that. Now, in this case the expectation the computer is specified to deliver fast image processing and as a high resolution and accurate color screen, right. So, if you look at it you can feel, oh well, this is really good, I was expecting and I am getting what I was expecting, right. Then comes the next level, and that is where I had said initially that here this is the step where you can create a differentiation, right. So, you can be different from your competitors and you can maybe do better, right, because the first three steps are more or less basic requirements and customers expect minimum this much. Augmented products are those elements that differentiate the product from the competition. These could be intangible such as brand and image also. So, the process is same. How do your customers perceive your brand to be different from the competition? What do your customers value about your brand? So, these are very challenging questions and every marketer, B2B marketer or anybody, they have to answer to these questions. So, you cannot shy away, you just can't avoid these questions, because sometimes if you answer these questions you may score very poorly, but at least it will help you to correct yourself, rectify yourself and grow up. Augmented, the computer comes preloaded with a high end image processing software for no extra cost or at a deeply discounted incremental cost. So, this is the augmented. Now, the next step, right. And finally is the potential. What are the potential components your product offers, right. Now, products and offers have to change. We now look at the future components. So, as I said, technology is changing. So, here you can see virtual reality or augmented reality. So, we are talking about those kind of concepts which are coming up, right. For example, companies like Tata Technologies, which is a great Indian company. Now, these companies are into the space of even in gaming, for Nazara Technologies. Now, these companies are now getting into one notch further, right. So, they are trying to ask the questions like what are the unmet needs of the customers, what are the unmet needs, what do customers need which we could not have met till now, how easy is it to fulfill this unmet need, how will fulfilling the unmet need affect the demand for my product. Now, after doing this exercise, the potential says the customer receives ongoing image processing software upgrades with new and useful features, for example. So, new technology, you tell them, you upgrade them. So, this is something that is regularly offered by the marketer. So, these 5 steps are very essential, and maybe you are into a B2B or a B2C, it does not matter. I will rather say that in the B2B market, it is more important because these are high and complex items, and the involvement of customers is very high, and the effect of any breakdown or loss is very significant. So, accordingly, if you break up this into these levels and understand them and try to cater to each, it can help you to enrich your product, to improve your product. Okay. What I will do is I will stop here, right, and in the next lecture we will continue with something fresh from here, and I hope you have understood what I have explained. We will meet in the next lecture. Thank you.